Good evening. It's your host, the Urban Scholar, and you're now watching Class in Session. So I mentioned earlier that we were going to talk about, it was a video clip that I saw on social media and my brother Beanie Siegel talking about his experience at Rockefeller with, with Jay-Z. But before we do that, we're rocking one of our sponsors, Urban Scholar Script T-shirt, representing my boy from Brick City, the Halal Boys, my young brother Fadri. Shout out, baby. But we're going to get to the clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the clip, I'm going to stop the clip, and we're going to talk about record deals in the music industry. We're just going to talk about music industry business. And I've done this in the past, but we're going to spend some time tonight talking about these record deals that these brothers and sisters are signing and who they're signing with, outcomes and things of those natures, and how you have to be very careful, in this business to make sure that, you're not signing your life and your rights away. So let me see if I can catch some of this clip and let you hear some of it.
Commodity to Rockefeller. Like I said, people got rich off of me thinking out loud. And, Jay made a statement. Beans, I ain't trying to change you. I'm going to just give you some game. But where the game come from? The game was, if I know that I'm making money off, if I made $100,000, you made $1 million. So it's like, you don't got no lawyer. You don't got no accountant. I got to get you an accountant. I gotta get you this because I'm making you millions of dollars. You understand? So where was the game? Where was the sit down and like, this is how you gotta do this?
So he said something very interesting. He says, wow, I'm making you millions of dollars. This is what Jay said to Beanie. And then fast forward, he said, I gotta get you an accountant. Brother. Now it's clear where he went wrong, right? So let's not even talk about that. Let's go back to the deal. So if he doesn't have an accountant, the real question is, did he have an attorney when he signed that deal at Rockefeller? And if he did or didn't, if he did, I would like to think an attorney would advise the client to make sure they have an accountant, right? Especially if we're talking about millions of dollars, which we know Rockefeller at the time, they was like the golden child. They had all the MCs, right? So fast forward, he said, I'm going to get you an accountant. Oh man. What does that mean? That means that I'm going to give you my accountant and he's going to make sure that I pay you. See how that sounds? And we all know how this story played out because my brother ended up pretty much with nothing in the end. And he was one of the most lethalest rappers ever to hit Rockefeller. If not, to me, he was the top tier. He was the future, and we know he went through some things as many of us do, right? And at the end of the day, he walked away with nothing. So number one, have your own attorney. Number two, please do not use their attorneys or accountants. That's a no-no. That's a big red flag. Number three, separate your relationships. Now, he wasn't friends with Jay prior to this. This was a business situation, right? But what happens is sometimes these people, some of these big entertainers, they do the friend thing, right? So to kind of warm you up, get you all fuzzy and tingly inside, and y'all start think that's my man's. So if it's my man's, I trust my man's ain't gonna do me like that. Guess what his man's did? He did him like that, right? And I'm not making anything up. This is all factual stuff. We know the outcomes of what happened with the whole Rockefeller unit, the breakup. And fast forward, Jay talks about who he made a millionaire versus who he didn't. So Bean's names wasn't mentioned, but in this clip, he was making him millions. So what happened to that? And why wasn't he mentioned? So, and that whole state property situation, right? I know those brothers, and they were young at the time and hungry. And some of them sat around waiting for years for the opportunity to drop their own stuff, and things didn't happen. And the majority of them walked away with nothing to show for it, right? My brother Free, he managed through it, right? But this goes back to you, brothers and sisters. Procure your own attorney. Get your own accountant, somebody, so they can track your money. Your attorney and your accountant are supposed to work together, because your attorney knows what the contract states and stipulates and how royalties and all this stuff is paid out, what you're supposed to get paid for. And they communicate directly with your accountant to help facilitate that process to make sure you procure and obtain your actual earnings based on that contract. And I will hope that we get smart about these contracts, because a lot of people are blindly signing contracts because they think they're friends with somebody, or friends with business are two separate things. I work with my son, and even that's been a challenge, right? It's not easy, because the challenge is, how do we become business partners? Because that's what a relationship is with a record label and an artist. It's a business partnership, right? And if you don't understand what that entails and what it's going to require, you're going to be in for a long ride. And this, my brother Bean, it's tragic what happened. The whole state property, the whole split with Dame and Jay. Who really owned state property? None of them. And we knew them as state property. So how is it that they didn't own anything? Rockefeller owned the rights to everybody's stuff. And who owned Rockefeller? Right? So we know how some things played out. So tonight, the focus is, why fast forward in 2022, are brothers and sisters still signing these messed up contracts? I know some artists, I heard Eve back in the day sign like a lifetime, like a 10-year contract with the Rough Riders, and different folks I know in the music biz sign these 7-album deals and constant, like these long drawn out contracts, and there was no way they had an attorney on their end that facilitated that for them, because none of that made sense. Not only did they not executive produce and write and own their publishing, the label owns the publishing, the label's the executive producer, right? And whoever owns the label, guess what? That money going to them. Artists is making probably, I think, like $1 and some change or something off every sale. Fast forward now, we into the digital age and downloads, but back then they were selling CDs, and we could go as far as back as we've seen all the movies, The Temptations, right? All those groups didn't have money. A lot of those guys died broke because they didn't own anything, right? Because they were in these contractual situations with record labels. And I'm bringing this up to say that this didn't just start. How is it that you know the history of these record labels and yet you're still signing deals like that, and signing deals without representation, signing deals without having accountants? And I've heard this with sports athletes as well. Tim Duncan had an accountant, and that man took $20 million from him because he wasn't paying attention. So even if you have an attorney and an accountant and whatever else you got going on, you still got to police them. Because when we're talking about millions of dollars, greed, man, That business is run by greed. Those record labels have one thing. They don't love you. They love the money, the revenue that you produce for them. It's an investment. They give you bonuses. They give you budgets, right? And back in the day, people go, oh, I got a $500,000 bonus. Now, I'm telling you the back end of that, because in most of those cases, that bonus was a loan. It was part of the budget, but they'll call it bonus, right? Because they want their money back. Record labels, companies, corporations are not in the business of giving you free money. And if you get a deal where they give you the bonus and they don't want nothing from it, there's something coming with that. There is no such thing as free money. So know the difference between a budget. Know the difference between a bonus, right? You got to pay that back. That comes out of your revenue that you're generating from that particular song, that particular album. Like, you guys got to really get with it, because we fast forward to the day, and I can name so many artists. The tragic situation with Lil Wayne and Cash Money. He grew up under them and ended up having to fight for his life and for his money. Like, people are still not learning. And I'm just concerned as to what's going on in the culture, that people are still going down these slippery slopes, signing these contracts, thinking that this is going to change their life. It's like slavery. It's no different from sports, entertainment, none of that. But there's a little difference, because those guys are guaranteed a certain amount of money. Like, they're paid to perform their job. Artists are kind of doing the same thing, but it's a different breakdown. And when you look at the contracts artists are signing, there's so many different breakdowns. The revenue's going in so many places. And now we got these downloads and digital ages, and you're looking at streams. It is so confusing. There's no way that you understand this stuff, because it's business, right? And it's a business that you didn't grow up in. It's a business where you might not have the accounting background. You don't have the legal background, right? So you have to employ people. It costs money to make money. We have to stop this stuff. And then there's people in the game still fighting for their lives. Meek Mills, right? Album got pushed back. How many times the album got pushed back? Labels do that all the time, because they own you when you sign that contract. And that's the part that you brothers and sisters are not getting. We have to wisen up. I fought with my son for years. I remember when he was young, he was like, yo, I want to be with Young Money. I want to do all this and that. I said, man, listen, you don't even know the half. And now today, fast forward, we're talking, it's been maybe 14 years, 15 years since we had these conversations, and I signed him. I think I signed him when he was 15. And he owned half the company. And of course, I had to keep a little bit higher percentage, because, if you don't know Yefe, Yefe might try to, jack me up or something like that. No, I'm just playing. Shout out to Young Yefe. Y'all go follow Young Yefe. Small artist. Dope artist. So I want to listen to some more of this clip, because I think it's still playing, but I want you guys to kind of hear this whole conversation with Beans.
You understand? So where was the game? Where was the sit down and like, yo, this is how you gotta do this. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. None of that was there. None of that was there. It was like, yo, that's a dope idea. Let's do that.
And they're gonna laugh, but you should be a teacher. And the reason I say that, this is not no joking, because you've been in the industry, you've had millions to see where things went wrong, and you could really help a lot of artists out there. A lot of people out there, because there's a lot of artists getting got.
Yeah.
Times 70,
Yeah.
And you've seen it all.
An asset. I was a commodity to Rockefeller. Like I said, people got rich off of my, me thinking out loud. And, Jay made a statement, Beans, I ain't trying to change you, I'm gonna just give you some game. But where the game come from? The game was, yo, if I know that I'm making money off, if I made $100,000, you made $1 million. So it's like, yo, you don't got no lawyer, you don't got no accountant. Yo, I gotta get you an accountant. I gotta get you this because I'm making you millions of dollars. You understand? So where was the game? Where was the sit down and like, yo, this is how you gotta do this. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. None of that was there. None of that was there. It was like, yo, that's a dope idea. Let's do that.
Beans, you know, they gonna laugh, but you should be a teacher.
So, Envy said it. There's so many people out there that got these deals and they don't want to talk about it, or in some cases they can't. Because once you sign, guess what? They got you. So, my goal here is, on Class in Session, is to educate and also learn myself. That's why I always ask for people to give feedback, because I don't know everything, but I do know one thing. Not too many good things come from signing record deals. So I'm going to talk about certain companies. We're just talking about Rockefeller. So if Ye and who he said, Rihanna were the only other two that became millionaires, and we know Ye became a billionaire through other things, right? And then he said 4, because LeBron signed to Roc Nation or whatever, right? So he said 4 technically, right? So let's look at the artist roster from Rockefeller. There was Cam, Dipset. There was so many people. State Property. Yeah, Freeway, Beans, all those guys down there in Philly. Shout out to the Ox. Assalamu alaikum. You know, my guys. Still on their grind. You know what I mean? It's countless, right? Let's go to Bad Boy. Who on Bad Boy got money? Biggie passed, got killed. His mom had to fight for his royalties. That's the untold story. Why would she have to fight for something her son wrote? Because he didn't own it. Those who really knew Biggie knew that his goal was to get on and get out and start Junior Mafia. Right? And I'm going to leave it at that, because we know that never happened. So I'm going to leave it there. Go back to Craig Mack, Faith, Carl Thomas, all these groups. Nitty Kane, he had these TV shows, Making the Band. My man the brother in Philly, Enough, he's still out here trying to survive. All these people still trying to survive. They don't have anything to show for their publishing, because they didn't own anything. They signed these contracts not knowing what they was getting themselves into. There's well over hundreds of stories of artists not getting what they're supposed to get, not owning anything. And all the talent, they're the talent. So how does the talent come out losing when you're the one writing these songs, these lyrics, in a lot of cases? I would love to see Drake's portfolio. I would love to see his contracts. I would love to see them. I would love to see it. But it's sad, because artists like Jay, I grew up respecting, Puff and these guys. Def Jam was big for us growing up, right? Russell Simmons put everybody on. And you see DMC from Run DMC living a regular life. They don't really got much to show for all the music. They didn't own anything, but they was the talent. And Run by default's his brother. So somehow he's rich. And DMC is not. And we all know who was the doper MC. Because, you know, DMC stands for Devastating Mic Control. I'm the king of rock. There is nothing higher. Sucking MCs, they call me sire. Like, that was my guy. That was my all-time favorite group. Like, I lived through that. Crush Groove days. LL came on the scene. I need a beat. Why do you think he went into acting and stayed there? Because the money was more guaranteed. It was his money. He didn't have to fight for it. After all those albums he gave Def Jam, and then he wanted to be the president. He wanted his publishing. I don't even know if that ever happened. Jay got his publishing because he did what he was asked to do. I heard he got his publishing and he became the CEO of Def Jam at one point. But at some point, Russell went away. And that was his baby. But a lot of money was made. People like Rick Rubin, who was the producer at Russell at Profile Records, and came into Def Jam with him. Rick Rubin worth like $500,000. $500 million. You got a net worth of $400 or $500 million. How? Man older than me. Still producing music. He got his money. Why these artists don't have their money? How's it these producers are richer than the artists who write the songs? The publisher should be making the most money. Remember, DMX had a fight with his label for his publishing and to be paid properly, because those were his songs, right? And that came at a price. So we gotta wisen up, and we have to create platforms for our artists where they get real deals that make sense. And you're gonna have to give up something to get something, but you don't have to give up all your stuff. Thanks to social media and these downloads, you can pay somebody to run your stuff up, because that's what all these record labels are doing. It's no different. You just don't have the money and the budgets they have. But there are some independent people out there, like your Rollos, who has his own money and elected not to do the deal with Gucci and got out of it. And it cost him. But he's still able to do things the way that he wants. And if he decides he wants to do a major deal or independent deal with somebody, that's his choice. But he has that freedom. And for some reason, they don't mess with him. The game won't support his catalog. The radios don't play him. I've reached out to people I know. Mum's the word, crickets. Because they don't make no money off of them. Not the kind of money they want to make. So he had to deal with Empire, like Dolph and a lot of these other guys. A lot of people, right? And you see what's happening with those artists, right? So you got to do your homework. We got to do our homework, right? Come over here to Urban Scholar Music Group. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. That's all. I ain't asking you to do nothing else. Because we grassroots. We new to this game in terms of the company, but I'm not new to the business, you know, and I love to develop and help people develop. That's what we do. Urban Scholar Music Group on Instagram and Facebook. We got Urban Scholar Gear, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you name it, right? But yeah, we always looking for real artists who are looking to partner with us. And we'll help develop you, and you get all this knowledge and experience, and we can come together and figure some things out, you know, and learn how to maneuver in this business, because this is a cutthroat business, just like any other business. Nobody's your friend. You don't have friends in this business, okay? So if you in the studio with your boys and this, that. When y'all doing music together, that's business. It's supposed to be paperwork involved. A lot of people not doing that. Oh, let me get on your track, and people letting them get on, and then they get on the track, they go on somewhere else. People don't even promote the track. You know, my artist is always working with other artists, Young Yefe, and putting people on, teaching them the game, teaching them how to do business, teaching them how to write and get their stuff on all these platforms and doing everything and not even charging people, right? And you see how far that gets you. People turning back on you so fast. People just want what they want from people. It's a cutthroat business, and some of us, and sometimes we gotta learn the hard way. It's business first. Somebody want to get on your track or get on your album, tax them. It's tax season. 60-40. Yeah, put up that bread. Because a lot of people, they can't put their money where their mouth is. Because they cap, as the young folks said. How you out here, your man's out here grinding, he putting you on, showing you the way, and then you turn around and try to, whatever, just like he don't count no more, she don't count no more. Like, we got to do better. I support my son not because he's my son, because he's a dope artist. Just like I do everybody else. Rollo, anybody that's putting out music, that's my people's. I always supported them. The Young Ox down there in Atlanta, my nephew, Lemonade Pat, everybody. That's what I do. Not because it's because that's what I do. We're all doing what we're doing because we want to move up. We want to get on. We want to blow. I sell clothes because I want to make money and I want to change the culture. I want to do things in my community. I started the record label because Young Yefe said, come on, Pop, just start the label. Even though we already had High Def Entertainment, he wanted me to switch it to Urban Scholar Music Group, so I did it. So now we got Class in Session, right? So we're going to keep things moving. And you think I'm doing this just to be doing it? But the problem is, we don't know how to support each other because we're too busy trying to outdo each other. But I'm strong at my spot. I already know how my people going to do. They're going to look and keep it going. They ain't going to share it. They ain't going to post it. They're not going to play Yefe music, even if they own it. People always show you their true colors. This is business 101. When you're doing music, whatever it is you're doing with it, get contracts. Get you a consultant. If you don't have money for a lawyer, you can hire me. Because you got to pay. Tax season. You can hit me up. But what I'm simply saying to y'all, we got to get real and learn how to handle business and keep our feelings out of it. Because business is business. And emotions is not a place for it. So I'm encouraging everybody, support this podcast. Support Urban Scholar Gear. Support Urban Scholar Music Group. Support Young Yefe. Let's get this thing going. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all tuning in. And I hope we get some real good engagement on this post, on this podcast, and the other ones as well. Because I love to hear the feedback. This is your favorite host. I'm the Urban Scholar, the big Urban Scholar, coming to a hood near you. Take these streets back. Let's wise up. Bless up, man. And remember, the future's Urban Scholar.